Welcome to the Success Talk Show, the podcast for ambitious leaders who want to get their best results and create a workplace for their teams to thrive. Each week we share practical advice to help you accelerate your success and grow as an inspiring leader. Now here's your host, Leadership Success Coach, Donna Siriani.
Welcome to another episode of the Success Talk Show. This is Donna Siriani, Leadership Success Coach and founder of Success Compass Academy. In this episode, I'm going to share with you my top tips to improve your LinkedIn profile. Now, if the reason you're listening is that you've started a job search, be sure to listen to episode 42, which is strategies to improve your job search process. So be sure to listen to that. Now, naturally, having an up-to-date LinkedIn profile will be a key strategy. In fact, years ago, when you thought about LinkedIn, probably the first thing that came to mind was that you only needed to pay attention to LinkedIn if you were looking for a new job. But, as you know, times have changed, and now LinkedIn is an invaluable social media platform, regardless of where you are in your career. In fact, you could think of LinkedIn as your own personal website. It's where everyone is going to go first when they want to find out more about you. It's going to create that critical first impression. So I want to share tips with you so that you can make the best impression possible. Now, in the course of conducting business, there's an endless list of possible scenarios for why somebody might look at your profile. Maybe you've started a new job, you have new colleagues, they want to know more about you. Or you're at your current company, but you're going to be working on a new project with some new people you haven't worked with very closely in the past. They're going to probably look you up on LinkedIn because they're curious about your background. They want to know more about you and what you're going to be like to work with on this project. Or maybe a client is considering you for more business and they're taking a closer look at your profile to see, some details maybe about how you present yourself and, again, skills and experience. An event organizer could be looking at your profile to see if you'd be a good fit as a speaker for their audience, right? And then when it comes time for the event, anybody who's attending, they may look at your LinkedIn profile because they're curious if it's going to be worth going to listen to you speak, right? So the list of scenarios is endless. Now, if you are going through a job search, then by all means, this is super critical because recruiters are using LinkedIn as their main database for going out and finding top talent. And so if you want to be found and you want to be a potential candidate for a role that they're working on, you need to make sure your profile makes a good impression and it's thorough and complete. Now, of course, when you get further along and you go on a job interview, those folks are going to look at your profile, right? So you're going to want to make sure it's in good shape and it tells a good story. It's authentic, it's consistent, it's accurate, but you want to be proud of it. So you're, again, making that good impression. So anyway, so many reasons. Now, one thing I've also heard is I've heard people be a little reluctant of fine-tuning their profile too much because they're afraid they're going to give other people the impression that they're looking for a new job when they're not. But that's why I'm sharing with you all these possible scenarios. It's a go-to resource across business. It's not just for people looking for a new job. So that stigma of updating your profile, hopefully you can kind of get past that really quickly because that's not the way it is anymore. And anybody now, it's so common, it's such an important business tool that if somebody looks at your profile and it's not filled out, it's sort of a bare skeleton, I think they're going to wonder, gee, that's funny. Wonder why they don't have anything here. It's going to actually be a strike against you because it is so common. So most people are expecting it to be more robust. Okay, so let's dig into the tips. Now, the first tip I have for you on this to really make sure your profile does you justice is before you even start editing online, ask yourself, what do you want to be known for? What's most important to you? What are your goals? Now, depending on your job, your goals, maybe I use the example of maybe you want to be seen as somebody who is a public speaker at industry events because you have an area of expertise that you want to be known for. So you'd like to expand that. Maybe that's one of your goals. Or maybe as a thought leader for your industry, you'd prefer doing white papers. You'd like maybe to be more in writing. So you want to share articles, white papers, a blog, and you're not really that interested in speaking in front of a group, a large audience. So you have a different way that you want to share your expertise. Or it's possible that you work extensively with clients on behalf of your firm, and you want your clients to have a high degree of trust, respect, and confidence that you have the expertise to help them solve their problems. So you're going to want to put your best foot forward, because all those prospective clients and current clients, they're perhaps going to be looking at your profile, right, to make some judgments about you. So what do you want to be known for? What's important to you? And if you're not sure what to say about yourself or what your personal brand is, if you find this to be a little perplexing, you're a little stumped by these questions, then I want you to know I actually help clients through this exact challenge. So you can visit myownsuccesscompass.com. And at that site, you'll find out more about the self-paced program that takes you through this process step by step of gaining clarity on your strengths, values, passions, your personal brand. And it helps you really clarify, what do you want to be known for? What's important to you? And how do you put these pieces of the puzzle together to really form that cohesive brand? It has to be authentic. Needs to be genuinely who you are and what you bring to the table. But many people have a tough time articulating it. And it's not just the writing, they're just not sure themselves. They haven't really stopped to think about it enough, and they need help. So if you need help, I'd certainly love to support you. Okay. But anyway, so this was the first step. Now, the second step is look at your headshot. Now we're going to dive into the actual section by section, what you need to be thinking about. So now that you've gotten some clarity on what you want to be known for, now look at your headshot. Is it a professional photo? If you have one, that's what you want to use. If you don't have one, I really encourage you to have it professionally taken. It's worth the investment to have a nice photo. You can use it for lots of different things across all social media. But if you don't want to pay to have it professionally done, at least make sure it's a really good photo with light color, light background. Sometimes people will post a photo that is so dark, maybe they're at a party, and it just doesn't have that professional tone to it. Okay, so that's important. Now, the third tip is you have the option of putting a banner photograph. The default in LinkedIn is like a blue network, but you can put an image there that correlates with your personal brand that would support it, complement it, accentuate it. Now, take a look at other people's profiles. You'll see this is common right now for people to put a photo there or some type of image. Could be a graphic image or a photograph. Now, many people will use scenes of nature, and those are lovely. But you could maybe be a little more creative and have it correlate to what you want to be known for. Maybe it's an image that represents your industry or your expertise. Is it financial services? Is it healthcare, manufacturing, technology, whatever it is? Maybe there's an image. Now, to find the images, you could even there's lots of free websites with stock photos. You can go into Google Images, right? Or unsplash.com. There's lots of them. And just put in the keywords, look at some images, and then see from terms of the image that they represent and the color, would it look nicely on your photo? Now, you might say, well, what difference does it make? But it just makes an impression. And you'll see for yourself how you react when you look at other people's profile and they've got a photo there, how it complements their brand. Okay. It's just, think of this as your personal website. And of course, if you were designing your own website, you'd have some kind of banner photo, right? That's part of your marketing. Okay. So that wouldn't take too long, but it could make a really good impression. Now, the next thing is tip number 4 is to think about your title. Now, you may have it just as your current job title, and that's fine, but you have 100 characters. You can add more to the title field than probably what you have there today. You can add a divider between the titles. So it's the up and down line on your keyboard. It's above the backslash. And you can put a little divider. You could use a special character between the titles. And the reason why this is such a useful feature is because maybe you want to be known for more than vice president of sales or, director of engineering. Maybe you want to also be known for what you do and why you do it. Now, let me give you a couple of examples from 2 other people. Somebody who is a senior executive for sales has as his title, driving sales and commercial excellence through top-line revenue growth. Okay. And you can tell by looking at his profile, he's a senior executive, tremendous experience, deep knowledge, and instead of putting his title there, it's what he does. It's where he adds value, okay? And then somebody else who's an audit partner has focused on serving companies that improves patient lives. So you can be a little bit more creative. Now, again, you might put your job title, a divider, and a little bit more on what you want to be known for. So let's say you do want to do some more public speaking. You could put public speaking or industry speaker or, keynote speaker. So you can add things. You don't have to lock yourself into just one title, right? You can string them together. Now, again, it makes an impression of who you are, what you do, why you do it. Okay. So now tip number 5, I want to spend a little bit more time on. This is the summary section. So we're really just so far talking about the very top of your profile. Underneath that, the summary section, typically people will write just one short little paragraph. But this section, you can actually put 2,000 characters in there. So you can write almost a page of information about yourself. And this can give somebody the feeling that they're actually having a conversation with you. So the first tip is write it in the first person, okay? And you want to write it in the first person again, so it sounds more personal, more intimate, like somebody's talking directly to you. Next is you want to include in this section a combination of what you're good at, what you love to do, what you contribute, maybe why you do what you do, and a little bit about your background. And you can weave both the personal and professional into this profile. Now, this can be tricky for some people who don't enjoy writing about themselves. This can be a challenging exercise. But again, look at some other people's sections. Now, not that you're going to copy them, but just to get a sense of what did it feel like to you when you read about somebody else and they took the time to expand and go into more detail or elaborate or tell more of a story. When you read those profiles, you feel like you sort of got to know that person. Now, it's important that whatever you write, if somebody were to meet you in person, they can see that this was authentic because the person they meet is exactly like the person they found online, right? There's consistency, adds credibility, it's authentic, it reinforces your brand, okay? Now, again, when people go through my program, and they go through that step-by-step process, they do a deep dive on their strengths, values, passions, personal brand. So they've got lots of language to choose from, to pick and choose in keywords and phrases to, piece together really a bio for themselves that they can put in this section. So for you, for a short-term step you can take is if you've done any assessments in the past, Myers-Briggs, the DISC profile, StrengthsFinder, anything you've done where you've got a document that describes your style, your work style, your personality, your strengths, tap into those documents because those could give you some excellent language to give you a running start of what to put in this section. Okay, but try to expand. Again, 2,000 characters, and really is fantastic if you can use all of it because, people really would the reason they're looking you up is they want to know more about you. Now, tip number 6 is in the experience section. What I would encourage you to do is you're going to put in there your past positions with the titles and the time frame. But the tip here is be sure not to just limit this to the responsibilities that you had at those companies or in those roles. Be sure to include your top accomplishments. What exactly did you contribute in those roles? And it would be helpful if the way you describe them is in a way where you showed the impact to the business and also measurable, quantifiable results, some type of real tangible business outcome. Okay, not just what you were responsible for, but what exactly did you do? Because these accomplishments are going to be key in people really having an increased sense of confidence, respect, trust for what you might bring to the table. Because remember we said, why is somebody looking at your profile? If they're looking at the profile because they're thinking maybe they want to bring you in for an interview or they're a potential client, are they going to give you the business? So you want to know that the accomplishments you list here are directly correlated to what you're hoping to attract, okay? You're not just mindlessly, typing in responsibilities out of a job description. You want them to be more meaningful than that. So again, let's say I just use the example of You want to be seen as a thought leader in your industry. You're hoping to attract more speaking engagements. So if you can continue to highlight where you have that expertise through the experience section, maybe you highlight places where you have spoken, where you've delivered keynote talks or talked to groups in your industry, or you've written white papers. Be sure to put that, in the experience section. So if somebody is considering you, they're going to be much more inclined to want to reach out. Okay. So it depends on what your goals are. Now, tip number 7, the skills section. Now, here's something I see happen all the time. The skills section can become a bit of a dumping ground with every skill possible, like 40 or 50 different skills. And what you want to do, and this piece might only take you, 10 minutes, is make sure the skills that are listed for you are the ones you most want to highlight. They're the things you most want to spend time on, and they relate directly to what you want to attract more of. Okay. So for example, I'll just tell you from my own, and I've worked with, almost all my clients to really prune this back. But for me personally, I know when I made the switch from a corporate role to coach and consultant, I trimmed back, and I still have to trim back, but things kept showing up in my profile that were no longer relevant. My clients could care less that I have any CRM or Salesforce experience. It just has no relevance at all to my new career. So you want to keep an eye on that, because you don't want to confuse people with what do you do. If you're a senior leader, you may not need to include project management or some of the detailed, business analysis, or maybe some of the detailed skills that you had earlier in your career. Maybe those aren't as relevant to you today where you are. So remove them. Okay. Then you can also resequence them, because you get to decide the order in which you want them to appear. So if you want someone to see you as, and again, I'm just making up the scenario of you want to attract, more speaking opportunities in your industry, maybe you want to put keynote speaker as the first skill that shows up, right? Whatever it is, whether it's, sales, marketing, engineering, finance, doesn't matter what it is. For your goals, which skills do you most want to highlight? Okay. So you can reorder them. Take out the ones that aren't relevant. Now, at the bottom of that pop-up screen, when you're adjusting your skills, there's a few words across the bottom of that pop-up screen that says Adjust Endorsement Settings. You want to click on that title, and you want to make sure there's 4 or 5 switches, which you want to make sure they're all flipped to yes, that you want to invite endorsements. Because what happens is people, again, if they're looking at credibility, what are you good at? What are you known for? If they see that you've gotten lots and lots of endorsements for skills that they're considering you for, that's going to just add even more to your credibility. So let's say keynote speaking. If you don't have any endorsements, maybe you have 1, but when someone's looking at your other skills, they say, 50, 75, 100, whatever it is. I think it stops at 99. They'll wonder, geez, nobody's endorsed you for keynote speaking, so that might be a question mark for them. So by you inviting and saying, yes, I'm open to endorsements, more people will be able to endorse you for those skills. And the higher those get rated, the more endorsements you get, the more often you're found in searches, and that it will add to your credibility. Does that make sense? So if you are looking for a new job, recruiters, when they search, they're going to see for skills that have higher level of endorsement, they might have that in their search criteria. And so you would be more apt to be a candidate if you're being endorsed for the skills that are relevant. Okay, so endorsements are important. Okay, now tip number 8 in the recommendations section, it's perfectly okay for you to ask for recommendations. Now, in the old days, we used to get letters of recommendation. Nowadays, you can get them real time. So feel free to reach out to former boss, former colleagues, current colleagues. Use your judgment on where does it make sense, right? Even these could be past clients, and ask for recommendations. And sometimes it could be simply, 2 or 3 sentences. It may only take a few minutes for them to do it. But here again, it adds to the credibility of your personal brand. Because when people are making statements about you, what they most appreciate about you, and it complements what you've already said about yourself, right? It adds to your credibility. It shows consistency. It shows that it's authentic. And now somebody has a greater level of trust that you are who you say you are, okay? It can show up in those recommendations. Now, conversely, let's say you're saying you're a fantastic, keynote speaker, etc., but not a single recommendation has been made for any talk you've ever given. Somebody might wonder, it doesn't mean you won't get the opportunity, but it just calls into question. They might ask you, could you give me a couple of, if they speak with you, they might say, really considering you, but could you give me a couple of references? Okay. They may still have that question mark and they still need to, dig a little deeper to know, are you really a good fit for their audience? So that's just an example. This could apply to, any skill that's important, in the particular conversation. Okay. So tip number 9 is media. For every position you've had, including the summary, you have the opportunity to include links to interviews you've done, whether you've been on a podcast or maybe you've written an article, had it published. Maybe there's a snippet of a video of a presentation you've given. It could be a white paper, but there's lots of places within LinkedIn in your profile where you can showcase different media, either uploading a file or including a link. So whether it's, audio, video, or written material, think about what you would like to share as if this was your website. Okay. And again, you can look at other people's profiles to see what's common. You might get some ideas and say, well, wait a minute. I have a couple of articles I've got a blog. I should put it here. Or, I have, had a couple of articles published, right? Put them on your LinkedIn profile because it further showcases your expertise. Okay. So that's important. And again, you can put media all throughout your profile. And when you just go through and edit each section, you'll see where you have those opportunities. Okay. So that can really add another dimension to your profile by letting people see the quality of your work. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to mention is tip number 10 is put it on your calendar or your to-do list to update your profile once a month. Now, you might do it once a week, once a month, but I'd say once a month is probably good. You want to take a look at it and review it. It only takes 5 minutes to just scan through your profile because something may jump out at you that, oh, hey, you know what? I published an article this week and, oh, I forgot. I had never put it on LinkedIn. Or you've gotten clarity about something. You read through that summary section again and you're like, I've had a realization that something that is really an important aspect of my leadership style that I'd love for people to know. And I'm going to go back and put that in, can just take a few minutes to edit. So you're going to want to, if you think of this as your website, you wouldn't want to put it up online and never look at it again, right? You're going to treat it as you would a website where you're curating the content every month so it stays up to date. And that way, when people look at it, it has maybe more meaning, more relevance. And again, the whole point of this is you're going to make a better impression. So those are my tips for today. I hope that you found these helpful. And if you did, I would love for you to go into iTunes, click on the ratings and review tab and leave a comment because I'd love to know if you found this helpful or get any feedback that you may have for me. So thank you for listening and have a great day.